During that bad situation, I birthed this amazing community.
And life takes you in a different path. You question it at first, but then it turns out to be the best thing that could ever happen. And like, this is a skill.
Sure.
On raw passion and action, you could become a great networker, right?
It's just
welcome back to the Transform podcast. We come out here to talk to you about health, wealth, and relationships. I'm super excited today to bring you another guest to episode number 7, Alexandra Silva. She's here to be the relationship expert for this episode. And without further ado, Alexandra, thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
She made it, I don't know, she's in like Fort Lauderdale and she came out here just to be with me in Doral.
Absolutely.
So super cool. Tell me who Alexandra is.
Wow, Alexandra is a little girl that came from Portugal. I come from an immigrant family. I came when I was 7 years old, and I came to this country, and just like everybody else, our family brings us here for, more, right? We want more for us, education or just opportunities. And shortly after that, I actually lost my parents at a very young age.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and it shaped me. Things that happen to us that's not so good sometimes can turn into good things in the future. So I always say I turn my pain into my power.
Yes.
So, going into writing this book, I've had the opportunity to connect with people at a very young age. Have lost my parents. I leaned on to other people. So yes, I call myself a little bit of that expert because at a young age I started connecting and really networking for resources, for support and mentorship. So yeah, that's Alexandra, and I'm now here in South Florida. I kind of grew up in Connecticut, and I've been in Florida for about 20 years now.
Wow, what brought you here?
Well, I came with a corporation, Enterprise at the time. They had a big opportunity for me, so I moved here 20 years ago with Enterprise. They transferred here with my 2 little boys, one of my many courageous moves that I've made throughout my life, but it has been just an incredible move, and sometimes we're scared to do things, but you never know what it's going to turn out, and it has turned out to be a really great decision.
That's actually, I couldn't agree more with you. It's happened to me multiple times throughout my life that we encounter situations or periods where you're like, everything's going wrong, or everything's going right.
Sure.
And all of a sudden life takes you in a different path. And you question it at first, but then it turns out to be the best thing that could ever happen to you.
Taking those, and I talk about that in my book a lot, like courage, right? Having the courage to do the thing. We sometimes don't take action because we're scared. Fear gets in the way, and it usually always works out. And you learn so much from just taking that risk and having that faith that it's going to be okay.
And it's life. It's like life. Sometimes you can't even control what happens.
No,
it just comes, and you just got to adjust to it and control what you can control, which is your thoughts and your reaction to it.
Absolutely.
So that's pretty awesome. Tell me about what you're doing now.
Okay, so I own Alexandra Marketing. We are a marketing and PR firm. We do full digital lead generation. We help businesses pretty much connect your mission and their vision. So you come to us to say, here's my company. I need help aligning everything and bringing it into harmony where, people know your brand and you know who your ideal clients are. So we kind of do a little bit of consulting coaching on that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How did you go into that industry?
Yeah, so I worked for Enterprise, right out of school. That was my first job. So I went into the marketing department. Marketing. So I've been in marketing and business development for over 20 years, and I've worked for several companies. And 4 years ago, in 2019, I actually wanted to bet on myself. And I said, it's time for me to go do my own thing. I've always had this entrepreneurship inside. I always knew that one day I would do my own thing. But it was just a profound moment because I looked around, and although was working for a great company, I had all the perks and everything, but I still didn't feel fulfilled. What I wanted to do is really help other businesses grow, and I had a passion to just go and serve and help others, and I ended up betting on myself. That was 2019, And a few months later, COVID happened. So
I was going to ask you about that.
Yep. So that was we just talked about having, courage to do things. And that was another courageous move. But also I bet on myself, right? I bet on myself. And 4 months later, COVID happened. And being a networking and marketing queen as I am, the country is telling me now I can't have conversations with people and connect with people. So that was hard, right? That was hard. But from every situation, you get something good. So during that time, I decided to pivot, of course. I knew that, wow, I just opened up my business. What am I going to do? So I put my network to a test. My seeds that I've planted for so many years, they all came and to help me, right? Through just referrals or just, I decided to do a mastermind class. And I went in with more of a service. I wanted to help people because they were panicking and they thought they were going to lose their jobs. So we would have like a mastermind class every Tuesday where we'd show up, I would bring speakers to just educate the community, educate people on digital marketing, lead generation, all different types of topics. So we started filming like a community, like it was building that community where it was great. It was great.
That's awesome.
So during that bad situation, I birthed this amazing community who like worked together, and it was just magical.
And I could I could only imagine what you were going through at that moment. And I don't even call it pivoting. Like we evolved, because pivoting means like we stop and we start fresh, but no, like you became a better version of yourself and what you were doing. So how did you think about, let me get my network to jump in and help me out? Why did that thought even come out? Such
a good question. So my entire career, I've depended on like networking and community. So that's something that I knew was important. So your network is your net worth, right? That's just what it is. We can't do this alone. And collaborating with people is pretty much what I've done my entire career. And that's the beauty of networking. Sometimes it's not just for you. People think they go to a networking event or network with people where they think it's just for their services. Sometimes it's helping others, right? Sometimes is networking with someone that maybe don't need your service, but you can refer to somebody else, right? So how did I come up with that is because I knew the power within community. And I knew the power where, during COVID, people were just in so many, they were just emotional. There's so much going on. It was a lot. So I knew that power of networking can bring people together, and we kind of exchange clients and be that support system. So that's why it was just
finding
easy
community.
It was easy. It was easy for me because that's all I believe. I believe in that power.
Actually, as a matter of fact, I think you know this, because that's the power of networking is what brought us together.
That's right.
Daniel, who took your photo, took my corporate photos.
See?
And through him, and him liking your stuff, I found you. And I'm like, oh my God, what a great message.
Thank you.
What a great presence. How do I get in touch with her? How do I make something happen?
Just one message away on LinkedIn. The power of digital. Power of digital marketing, right?
That's phenomenal.
Broader, you meet people that you'll never meet,
Every field, including marketing, has a ton of misconceptions. Tell me a common misconception that you find in marketing in your field that you would like to debunk.
That's a really good question. I think I don't know if I can really give you one. There's so many. But one thing that I do get customers, they think that marketing happens overnight, right? That it's just so quickly. And I try to explain to them to build your brand, because there's a personal brand and then there's your company brand. And sometimes people don't understand that. So my goal is to make sure that people align your personal brand with your company's. So I always say, your brand, it's not your logo, it's not your company, it's you, right? You're your personal brand. It's how you show up. People do business with people they like and trust. They're not really doing business with a company per se. The company is what's going to provide that type, that service they need. But truly, it's you. So I'm always passionate about letting people know, what is your brand and what does that look like? And, your brand is how people feel about you when doing business with you, right? If they need something, why would they call you? And why would they think of you?
Right.
That's your brand. Why? Because you answer the phone. It's how you show up, how you email, your presence when you walk into a room, at a chamber meeting, whatever it is, that's your brand, and they associate that need with it. So when it comes up, they think of you.
Immediately. That's a great one. That's a great one, and it happens to all of us. She's dropping gold right here. That's awesome. Take me to, I'm gonna take you like back, all the way back now. I came out here as an immigrant as well.
Yeah.
I was 15 when I came out, 15 or 16. And it was tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. So the people out there that get here, I mean, you came as a child, but different. From your area of expertise being relationships, how does someone that just got here to this country that maybe doesn't have the network, maybe doesn't have the resources or understands how the cultural impact or the differences here, how do they create a network starting from zero?
Yeah, find it immediately. I'm telling you, because there's network. I mean, it's all about putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what people sometimes don't do, whether they're timid or they just feel like they're afraid.
Yeah.
Right? They're afraid and don't have the courage. Find the courage within you, because I'm telling you, the more you find these network, and it depends on what field you're in. Yeah. You know, chambers are great place if you're in a small business, or you're a business that wants to connect and network with others. But just join something, do something. So my thing is, put yourself out there. That's the only way. Every day that you don't put yourself out there, it's gonna get harder and harder. Yeah. You meet one person, that person connects you to somebody else, and it's just a snowball effect. It just keeps happening. So my advice is, just do it. Just do it.
The secret, so what you're telling me is that the secret is not really a secret. It's a numbers game. Go out there, put yourself in front of other people, and just get it done. It will compound over time.
It will. Show up scared. That's another thing I say a lot. Show up scared. I'm scared. Show up scared. Because
that was me.
What happens when you keep showing up scared?
People, I guess, approach you, right?
Yeah, but you're no longer going to be scared anymore.
Oh, true.
It's like going, when you go into the gym and you're working out, you keep running. You ran 2 miles, and then you want to go 5. What happens? You got to keep showing up. Yeah. You can't go to 2 to 5 without putting the work in. You've got to keep showing up, and you have to keep meeting people, and you just never know who you're gonna meet. So I started that at a very young age. And again, it's a conversation like we're having right now.
Right.
Just meet people, say hello. Yeah. People want to, listen, I believe that, part of why I write this book is I believe that people really want to connect with you.
Yes.
I do. I think I've not met anyone really that's like, Alex, I don't want to talk to you.
Right.
We want to help.
Yes.
It's a community. We were put on in this world is to have human connection.
100%.
So why are we not doing it? It's just a conversation.
I think it's a little bit of stigma, or there's things that growing up you learn that, their neighbors are over there. Maybe we don't. We talk to each other. Yeah.
It could be just the way you were raised or whatever.
I'll tell you about my experience. Growing up, I was like a social butterfly up to the age in which you made it here to the U.S.
Gotcha.
Up until 7 or 8, my parents, I grew up in Cuba.
Nice.
So it's a different culture. Sure. So similar to Portugal, I'm imagining. You live in your neighbor's house.
Absolutely.
Pretty much, right? But then I got, I had an accident, I got burned, and then my parents became overly protective. Again, I almost died, so I understood what happened.
You a little bit,
right. But then I grew up feeling timid.
Sure.
From interacting with people, this and that, and then I come to another country where the language is not the same, where I don't know anybody other than my aunt. I'm not here with my parents, so all that stuff was complicated. So I find a job in which, I was always good at communicating one-on-one. So I landed on a sales job where I'm forced to talk to people, right? But I spent a decade working on a setting that although I'm talking to people one-on-one, I'm not really encouraged or pushed to be in a social network setting. Meaning, I'm churning or meeting people one-on-one, but I'm not in the business really to create relationships.
Right.
More like churn it and burn it and continue to the next. But then I come to another place because COVID, all these things happen, and life changes.
Yep.
And then I find myself in 2020 learning how to network for the very first time. Not having a social media presence whatsoever.
Right.
Not having LinkedIn, not having nothing. I did not exist on the web.
Wow.
And I did not exist on any social group.
And you're great at it now. I mean, that's how you got me.
I mean, I'm trying, right? I'm still trying.
Right?
But yeah, I'm trying to get better at it. So
Sure.
a testament to anybody listening, like this is a skill.
Sure.
On raw passion and
Right.
action, you could become a great networker, right?
It's just keep doing it,
Awesome.
you know? It's just keep doing it. It's keep showing up. And don't be afraid to make mistakes. My biggest lessons have come from mistakes that I've made. And sometimes those mistakes open doors for what you're really supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
So that has been my biggest. So making mistakes, to me, I don't worry about it because I know that, yeah, I could fail at this one thing, but I'm gonna learn from it and it's gonna open doors and shift me to where I really need to be. And that has been a testament for my life from the beginning. So I'm not afraid, you know, of making mistakes. Now, when COVID happened, did I have a little fear?
Right.
Absolutely. And it was when you have those types of like things happen to you, because now you're thinking not only are we in a pandemic, but I just like left a pretty big opportunity in my company to go do my own thing. So income-wise, you get fear. But that's where you tap into believing and betting on yourself. When you believe in yourself and you can bet on yourself, you know you're not going to fail. You know you're going to keep going, and that's what wakes you up every morning and keeps you going.
That's it's actually you mentioned that. It's actually interesting that you mentioned that, because that's always a thought that I've had in my head. I mean, I love what I do.
Sure.
And obviously, I am given access to do other things, such as what we're doing now, which is phenomenal, right? But having my business, doing my own thing, has always been, I think that's everybody's dream.
Sure. Yeah.
How do you go from that mindset shift from corporate to like, I will bet on myself and I will be successful? How does that happen? Is it just a decision?
It's a decision, but I don't think that everybody has it.
Okay. Maybe I'm a little wrong.
No, it's not that you're wrong. I think that some people love it and see it, but I don't know if it's for everyone, right?
Got it.
Because I have friends who are like, Alex, I love what you're doing, but I personally, I need to work for a company.
Okay.
I need to be structured, right? So I think you just have it. I really do. And if you feel it, go do it.
Just do it. Just take the leap.
Because it's going to keep showing up. Just like I told my story. You know, I worked for corporations. I got here through one, then went for many other companies that I worked for. And then just 4 years ago, I'm going to be 4 years in October. I can't believe it. I decided, but I also, I had a lot of, I would say my background a little bit, my parents were entrepreneurs. So it's a little bit genetically in me to be, but I think entrepreneurship, I think that's people with a lot of leadership kind of personality, like you're taking the lead.
Yeah. Don't
so
wait for opportunities.
That's why I think you have it. I feel like you have that leadership.
So humbled.
Yeah, no, seriously. I think that's in you. Yeah, but entrepreneurship is hard, right? And if you think you're going to get into it and it's going to be easy, I'm sure the ones that are watching this are also business owners know, like, it's a lot of risks every day. You're, you know, especially if you have payroll, there's a lot that goes with it. And every day you got to get up and you got to believe in yourself. It's like, how do you get that motivation, right?
Yeah.
How do you get that motivation every day to keep going? And that's going inward, you know? I was just talking to somebody earlier, and great meeting earlier this afternoon or this morning, and he asked me a few questions about how do I keep going? I says, I have a meeting with myself every morning. See, we have appointments in our schedule every day with other people and things that we have to do, but we forget to meet with ourselves. And that's something that has changed me and how I do business and just how I show up, because I have a meeting with myself every single day. It's in my calendar. And I'm a morning person, so I usually have it in the morning where I kind of just sit down and take a temperature of like, where am I at? How do I feel? What's going on? Who do I need to reach out to? Who are these important conversations that I need to have? So it kind of just give you an opportunity to, number one, give yourself some grace, right? Because we're busy, we're doing so much. And this is not just for entrepreneurs, this is for anyone. This should be, everyone should have time to sit with themselves and really evaluate. I say it's the best meeting of the day because I'm meeting with myself, my most important meeting, right? Because if I don't sit and figure out where am I at, taking that temperature of like what I need to get done, how do I show up to the world in my full authentic self, right? If I have stuff that I need to work on. So it just gives me an opportunity. I say sometimes I'm a little feisty, but we work through it.
That's an incredible piece of advice. I might implement that.
Absolutely.
That's
I encourage
phenomenal.
you to.
Yeah,
it's going to change. It's going to change you. And if you have it in that calendar, you become so important because you have to pour into yourself first, right?
Yeah.
So when you open up your calendar and you see that there's a schedule every day that you are meeting with yourself, it just changes the game. Changes the game. You start respecting and looking at yourself a little different.
And it's sometimes, now that I think about it, that's what I love about doing this stuff, right? It's illuminating. Because now that I think about it, what a great opportunity to sit down and reflect on potentially what went wrong yesterday, stuff that you could pivot from, evolve from, and the plan to go forward today. So that's
reflect.
That's
clarity too. Just understanding, you know, and then just spending some time with yourself and just taking a temperature of like, how do I feel?
Right.
Do I feel good about this? Am I feeling good at what's going on right now? And adjust, because not every day you're gonna feel great.
Right.
Every day's, you know, there's gonna be hard days. And how am I taking care of myself? Like, you know, whether, you know, I told you some part of my brand is taking care of your health. And that is a part of your mental health, having a meeting with yourself. Because if you're checking in with yourself every day, your mental health's going to be a little bit easier to deal with, right? Because you're holding yourself accountable to how you feel, how you're showing up, versus just keep going and keep going. Yeah. And that's what we're taught. And I know my culture, we're taught to just keep going, and it's selfish to take that time off and take a break. So
when the reality is not, because then it makes you more productive. Yeah. That I totally agree with. I've experienced that myself. When this is not right, nothing's right. Nothing's right.
Yeah.
And then you try to push.
That burnout.
That's who you are, right? You want to get it done, but then eventually you just crash, and then you get home and you're like dead. You just want to go to bed, and then you're not showing off for your family.
Which is the most important part, right?
That's great. That's a great piece of advice.
Absolutely.
On that note,
what else you got for me?
Two things. Actually, let's go there first. Tell me, what is the best piece of advice that has been given to you?
And it's so funny. It's to slow down and just be present. Yeah, not everything has to be rushed.
Right.
And that comes from just, we all have our journey, right? Of just our past. And having to do things on my own for so long, figuring it out as a child, not having my support, which from my parents, like by the age of 16, I had no parents. So me having to do everything on my own, so I always had to rush. I kept going, everything was so fast. And one day someone sat down with me and was just like, Alex, you're such a dynamic woman, and you did it. And she said to me, she goes, slow down.
Yeah.
You're here. It's okay. Not everything has to be rushed. Enjoy the moment. This ride is fast.
Yeah, it does.
It's so fast. And that was such a great advice. And every time I start going too fast, I remember that. Alex, slow down. Not everything is an emergency. It'll get done, it'll get done.
Wow.
So yeah.
That's incredible. I know this is personal.
It's okay.
I'll tell you something personal about myself too. That's why it's touching, and that's why I want to go there. Because a lot of the stuff that we watch on the internet and the stuff that we experience from other people, it's usually looking from my angle, my point of view, or your perception of your life. So it might be a little bit misguided, right?
Sure.
My mom recently passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
2 months. It's been 2 months yesterday.
Oh, God.
So very recent.
Yes, I'm so
So
sorry.
I know how it feels. I know what probably, imagine at 16 years old, like that would have, devastating for you. For the people out there that are going through something similar to this, that maybe they've lost a family member, maybe they are in the process of, God knows, losing a family member. terrible. It's the worst pain that you want to go under the desk and just sob and cry for the whole day. How do you push forward? How do you separate, compartmentalize this thing and just carry on with life? Because we have to at the end of the day.
We do. So with me at a younger age, again, it's a culture thing. We didn't really get therapy. We were just basically told our mom passed away and we just got to move on. And that's just my culture. And I'm not saying every Portuguese person, at least my family. Right. And I know we didn't get therapy. So I would recommend talking to somebody, because I know that when I had the opportunity as an adult and I waited way too long, because I started developing anxiety and panic, because if you don't take care of how you feel and those emotions with grieving, it will keep showing up, and it could show up and like it's like a cup being full and the water just overflows, right? So at some point it's going to come up as like a panic attack or an anxiety. You're not going to feel too good. So I encourage getting therapy, talking to somebody. I'm big into that. Just like I said, my upbringing, my family, that was not something that was important. So dealing with it. It took me years to deal with it, and even up to this point, it's still a little difficult. And I love now that I'm keynote speaking to different audience, and it's in my book, and I'm like out there just doing a lot of these podcasts. I'm able to talk about the fact that my mom passed away. Years ago, I couldn't without crying. It was something that I wouldn't even bring it up. I was actually not ashamed of it, but more like just
it will bring those
embarrassing. It was just, I was like, I thought that like not telling my story and just like, here I am, was a good thing. And for someone that lost their mom just recently, carry all the memories with you and celebrate her. And when you're feeling down, just like I said, if it's too heavy, talk to someone. Because it is hard. It is hard. We're not going to be here forever. So we know this. Like this is just, everybody has a different time, right? But it is a huge loss. She brought you to this world and now she's gone. So having conversations, I'm telling you, the power of like just being able to emotionally express how you feel is so therapeutic to your body. It relieves so much. And that's advice I give. And unfortunately, I didn't take that when I was younger. But now as an adult, it came back.
Right, you see it. Yeah.
I saw it. It came back because it was still there. I knew that there was something there that I didn't grieve.
Suppressed on there.
I suppressed it. I'm like, at one point, being 13, I was like, she left. I was mad at her. I can't believe she left. And she was sick. She didn't leave on purpose, but as a child, you don't know. So whatever emotions you're feeling, deal with it. Because it'll show up in different areas, and you'll get anger towards things, but enjoy like all the beautiful memories and the things and keep her alive. My kids know about her. I never met her, but keep her alive in your life.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. This is real advice. This is real stuff. I like real stuff. And yes, that's exactly what I'm trying to do. You touched me. You touched the little button of that stuff, and I said, let's just talk about it.
It's so real life. And I love like what we're doing here, because you can go write a book, you could be successful at work, but the reality of it is that we have pain still. We have things, we're living every day, and as business people, how do you cope every day with real things? And that's a conversation that has to be had. And a lot of times we shy away from it. I don't want to be looked at this superwoman who is you see me on LinkedIn and I'm just amazing and this. No, I have pain. I live with certain things. I have a story. And I just didn't get here. We all have something, and the story must be told, because you don't know who you can help, right? But more importantly is being authentic and transparent with people. No one's perfect. Everyone has a story, and we're all living with some kind of pain, and it's okay. Let's just come together and be there for each other.
That's what this podcast is exactly about, demystifying perfection. Nothing's perfect. Business is not perfect.
No.
Relationships are sometimes not perfect, and life, inherently, it's not perfect.
It's not.
But then, in that imperfection is where we find progress. And that's where we grow, right?
And that is where the mindset comes in, right? So no matter all these things you're going through, I'm big on mindset, right? So we all have the same amount of time in a day, right? We wake up, and it's choices that you make to push forward. And that's a mindset thing. It's to train your mind that the things that are happening to you, they're happening for you.
Yes.
It's for your next, and your next. And that's transforming how you think to get to the other side. But if we feel like we're victims and we allow our circumstance and things to happen, you're not only letting yourself down, you're letting your family down. I don't know if you have children, your children are watching you, how you're dealing with things. So it's so many layers to where pain can like take over your entire life. So mindset is showing the strength. And also, like I said, that meeting with yourself, giving yourself grace, and it's okay to feel, and having a community of people that you can lean on for that support. But mindset is gonna separate you from feeling victimized to, this is what's happening to me, but I got goals. I got things to do. I gotta get up and I gotta keep moving. And that is a whole other topic, but
But it's a great tangent. It's a great tangent to develop on this conversation, because if you think about it, we all have the same amount of time, but it's the decisions that we make, like you just said. Like you could I'm going to start this podcast for 6 months. And the moment that I actually decided tomorrow it's episode number 1, I did episode number 1.
Wow.
Right? And then I've been doing one weekly now. So it's everybody's one decision away from changing their lives. It's just a matter of doing it and not letting yourself be scared by all these thoughts that you have going on in your mind. So
and that meeting holds you accountable.
Yeah, right?
What are you doing? Oh, you didn't touch on that today. Why not? Why aren't you doing it? See, we are so afraid to face ourselves, and that's something I'm going to share with you from just a young age because of all the things that have happened to me. I would be out there just helping everybody else, but when it came to me, I would run for myself. I didn't want to face my truth. I was dealing with some things, some hard things, and I would not want to deal with it. So those meetings, I didn't want to have them. I even took on yoga, and yoga forces you to go inward. I did it for a little while because it kept going inward. I'm like, I'm uncomfortable.
Right.
So I encourage people to really have that meeting with themselves, go inward, because you're letting yourself down. I let myself down. I let myself down for so many years. I don't do it anymore.
And it's not even worth it.
It's not worth it.
Was it worth it?
You're your truth.
Yeah.
And we don't go inwards. We want to deal with everything else around us so we can distract ourselves from our truth. But once you let go of that, magic happens. The world just opens up. You know, because you're living an authentic life. Your truth. And you can't hide that.
You flourish.
You flourish.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I encourage people, go inward. Go inward.
Beautiful message. Tell me about the power of networking.
My baby. So, power of networking.
Let's put it right here.
The power of networking. This book has literally been out for a couple months and have changed my life. Between interviews like this and keynote speaking opportunities and just new clients, it has been such a blessing. And all because I listened. Tell you a story. So I was writing, and I am writing a book about my memoir, some of my, just my past and my life. And it was a healing moment for me, because as you write about you start to heal. So I was ready, I was almost done. And one day I was out for my walk. I walk every day, at least 3 miles a day. It happens every day. And just this energy, this like big energy came over me, and it was, the message was, you're not putting out that book, you're putting out the power of networking. So I'm still walking, I'm like, what is this message? And it was just so, a little disturbing in a sense. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm ready, I'm excited about my new book, like so I was obedient. I do believe in spiritual like signs. I believe in just listening to the higher power, the higher power, whatever that is for you. So the power of networking is a class that I developed during COVID. I created during COVID. It is a state certified class that I would teach. I'm in the construction and commercial real estate space, and I would teach property managers, and I would go into different companies, and I continue education. I would give them the credit. So the presentation was ready, but the book, like, what are you talking about? So I went back and I said, okay, so I have the PowerPoint, I have my class, So I started writing down the chapters.
Let's elaborate on this.
Right? And I was like, okay, so then I started writing and brought in a team, and the power of networking is now born. And it has been the most incredible thing that I did. And a lesson there is, so many people don't listen to signs. So many people are just got so much noise here.
Right.
So when I say I'm out for a walk, it's because I dedicate time for myself daily, my meeting with myself, but also some time to be alone and to listen. And we get signs every day, and we just keep going. Because I stopped and I listened and I had clarity and my mind was ready to receive, I was able to do something like this, and I am just so proud. And the book is doing so well. I'm going into companies and talking to their team about sales team. I know you said you're in sales, how to connect on that high level with their ideal clients. I'm talking to their marketing team. I'm talking to just their team on how to connect, because there's internal connection just as much as the external.
Right,
because
yeah.
if you're not good internally in your company, how are you going to be able to sell?
I agree.
Right?
Yeah, I
so
agree.
I have that in there as well. So yeah, the book is doing great.
That's
and
amazing.
It's opening a lot of doors.
Where do we find it?
It's on Amazon.
Okay.
Go to Amazon, type in The Power of Networking, and you'll see it right there.
Awesome. Tell me about your superpower.
I
read it online on your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, so I always say my superpower is able to pretty much help people that have all these problems and look at life so complicated, right? It's to really take away the complicating part of life. So solving those problems. And that has been my superpower. It's a good and it could be a bad thing, because if you come to me with a problem, I immediately go to the solution.
That's great. That's
It's a
awesome.
good thing. However, it's not great if you're my child who calls me and tells me, Mom, I'm stressed out. And I'm like, solving the problems.
That's who I am
And
too.
sometimes my son one day said to me, Mom, sometimes I just need you to listen. Right? So I'm sharing, like I'm being completely transparent. So yes, in business, it's all about solution. And that is my superpower. I transform problems into solutions like this.
I read it and I'm like, wow, this makes so much sense. Getting a complex thing or something that somebody perceives as complex and simplifying it.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow.
Because life is so hard.
Yeah.
It can
is.
be so hard, but we make it harder. When we just don't look at what's in front of us. Sometimes we are making it harder. Sometimes I listen to people sometimes, I'm like, wait a minute, okay, so I ask questions and they answer it. So does this really look like a big problem? And they go, well, not when you put it that way. I'm like, so we're in our own ways sometimes.
Yeah.
So simplifying things that may seem complicated are my superpower.
That's amazing.
Yep.
You mentioned, obviously you gave me something that I'll take away, which is do that meeting with yourself, like religiously,
Yeah,
right?
put it in your calendar.
That's a great piece of advice. But I want to open it up in case that you have another awesome nugget or piece of advice. Anything else that you like to, it's a personal development and business podcast. So any other piece of advice that you want to be the mentor for someone else out there and you want to share? Anything else?
I mean, it's an advice, I guess. I just think it's so important to be you, show up as your true self. I think that a lot of times we are scared, and I want to encourage you to show up as your true, authentic self, because the world needs you. You are unique in your own way. Nobody could be you. So when you don't show up as your true self, you're holding back. And the world needs you. The world needs a piece of you. You need to contribute to this world. So that's something that I'm so passionate about, helping others just show up who you are, show up as you are. And magic can happen, right? As you meet people. Yeah.
Be you, right?
Believe in yourself. You didn't even read that.
Be you.
Be you. That's it.
There's power in you.
There's power in being you, because no one could ever duplicate that. They could try, but they can't. So.
This was awesome. How do we find you? How do we find you online?
Owning a marketing company, Alexandra Marketing, I'm everywhere. So you can find me, Alexandra Silva Labar. I'm on every social media platform. I'm very active. That's another thing. If you're going to be on social media, make sure you're active.